Well, hello and welcome to Faith, Philosophy and Life with me, Mr. Charlton. It's great to see you again, and I do hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to continue thinking about the relationship that God has with his creation, and today we are going to think about what the two creation accounts of Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2 that we thought about earlier this term tell us about human beings. So I'd like you to go and grab your pen and your paper because here's our cheesy intro music. Brilliant. Okay, so what I'd like you to have done is to have got the title written down and the date. Today we're going to explore how humanity can be understood through Genesis. Genesis meaning the beginning. That's why it's the first book of the Bible. Just an interesting fact if you were interested. If you weren't, then it's not interesting. So it's going to be good if you can describe what Genesis chapter 1 and 2 shows us about humanity. It's going to be great if you can explain the importance and the role of people in the early part of the Bible. It's going to be even better if you can fit this information to a top mark 5 out of 5 B-style question, and that's if you're doing the EDUCAS exam board. But other exam boards do similar style of questions, so the principles still stay the same. So during today's session, as always, pause this as we go because you need to go through this at your own pace. There's a description below. Please access that. That's got absolutely everything you need in it. We are going to look at some key terms. We're going to look at some clips. We're going to look at Genesis 1, Genesis 2, and have some reflections as well. So first off, what we need to do is we need to look at some key terms. So I think it's really important that you get these key terms scribbled into your note. If you don't know them, don't bother writing down anything you do know because you already know it. So Imago Dei, we've already talked about, the made in the image of God. We've got human dignity, the idea that we are worthy of respect, and quite often I have conversations with pupils about what dignity actually means, and dignity is quite simply self-respect or worth or value that you attach to yourself or other people. Free will, you've got the option to choose what you want to do. You could choose to turn me off right now. It might not be the best thing for you to do, but you could do in the same way I could choose to walk out the room and just leave a half-hour blank video for you to watch, which some of you might celebrate doing. Stewardship is caring for creation, and sanctity of life is the idea that human life is sacred and important and special to God. So to start off with then, I'd like to think about this big question. What's the point of life? What's the point of life? So just pause me now while you maybe write down what you think the point of life is. Let's do that now. Okay, so I wonder what you've said. So I've got a couple of clips I'm going to show you, which I've taken from the Alpha Course, which is a Christian organisation that tries to teach about Christianity. And this asks the question, what's the point of life? And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you at the end of watching these two clips, they're only quite short, as I'd like you to explain which one you most agree with and why. So do you think point 1 or do you think clip 2? And how does that fit with your worldview? So let's watch this now, then come back to me.
more to life than this?
Is there more to life than this?
Is there more to life than this?
Okay, so I wonder what you opted for. Clip 1, was clip 1 what the point of life was? That you live, you have children, you go to work, you, maybe not in that order, and then you die, and that's it. Is that the point of life? Or is it like the second one, where is there more to life than this? Than enjoyment? And is there a reason or a purpose for life? So pause me now while you explain if you think clip 1 or clip 2 and say why. Okay, so now we get on to our biblical thing. Now, I have asked you to use the description below to access these worksheets. This is a slightly different translation of Genesis 1 than you might be familiar with. Just some of the language, I've changed it just to make it a little bit easier for you. So what I'd like you to do is, using the information sheet and the worksheet that you've got, I would like you to answer the questions that are on that sheet. It's as simple as that. So this is Genesis chapter 1. Remember, this is the creation account, the 6-day creation account where God rested on the 7th day. So this is where the people get put on the earth, right at the very end of Genesis 1, but we know nothing more about them. So pause me now with that worksheet, complete Genesis 1, and then come back to me and we'll move on to Genesis chapter 2. Okay, for those of you who weren't sure on how that looks, there you go. There's the answers behind me, so you can check it off and make any changes you need to. Okay, so I wonder if you got those verses, got that from the text, because they're how the verses apply to the purpose of humanity. Remember, our objective is to describe what the Bible teaches about humanity and the role that humans have got. That goes through it with Genesis chapter 1 really well. We're now going to look at Genesis 2. So, in the same way, on the worksheet that you had, you'll find Genesis chapter 2. So this is where it hones in on the story of Adam and Eve. Genesis 1 is about creation. Genesis 2 is looking at the role specifically of two individuals. So again, you're going to complete a similar table. Try and match the quotes to what the role of humanity is using that grid. And then you're going to come back to me. Okay, so here are the answers. Again, fairly straightforward. Some of it you might need to infer a little bit more, but the information is there for you. Remember, some of this will link back to our idea about stewardship and dominion that we've already spoken about in earlier clips. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go back and have a look at those. So let's continue, because we have said, leading up to our third objective, which is to fit it into a B-style question. And we've done our clips, we've done our Genesis 1, Genesis 2, and now we're going to be getting onto that reflection question. So a B question. My advice now, there isn't a set pattern that you have to follow for a B question, can I make that very clear? But my advice is that you have 4 points and a quote which is explained. Now, if you aim for 4 quotes with a point that's explained, that's a point of evidence, that is, then you're not going to be far wrong. If you end up with 3 points and a quote, then you'll probably get away with that, to be perfectly honest with you, but they're going to have to be good. So, this is an example answer at this point. In the creation accounts, human beings are portrayed as an important element of God's creation. We see in both accounts, that's Genesis and Genesis 1 and 2, humans are given the power over the world, and we've defined that as the word stewardship, which is actually incorrect, because if you've got power over the world, it's a different term, isn't it? In one account it says they have power over the fish of the birds, and in account 2 it says in Eden, there he put a man and he formed, and that suggests that the man had control over the garden being representative of the world. In the creation account, humans are also portrayed as special. We're in the image of God, Imago Dei, and in the account 1 it states. And then the answer carries on. I'm not saying that that is a very good answer, because I think there's some errors in that hopefully you've identified. So, for example, the word dominion should be in there. I'm also only after 4 points with a quote, so that's going to be backing it up with some sort of evidence from what the Bible says in the account of Genesis, which is explained. And you've also only got 5 minutes to answer it. And I wonder if that would have spent longer than 5 minutes to answer. So I'll leave that with you. Here's some more thoughts for you. We've got to look at how we might merge Genesis 1 and 2, because there is an issue that some people say, oh, there's two different accounts of creation in the Bible. I don't believe that to be true at all. Genesis 1 is about creation of the universe and the way that people fit in. Genesis 2 is kind of like a spotlight on a stage where you're focusing on just Adam and Eve. And we know that later in the Bible, there are other occasions where cities and towns are talked about just in Genesis chapter 4 and 5. And because of that, then there's indication there that God was creating a lot more people than just Adam and Eve. But Adam and Eve, in this case, are representing humankind. So account 1 and account 2, how do you fuse them together? Well, creation is a sign of God's love, and therefore creation is good. That comes through on both accounts. Beings are made in the image of God, Imago Dei. That's in both accounts. We are stewards of the world. We're both given world to look after and to care for it. We also both have dominion. That comes through in both accounts, where we control things. And we've got free will as well, and that's very clear. So this is your exam question to answer. Okay, the question is this, it's dead easy. Describe what the creation accounts tell us of human beings. Describe what the creation accounts tell us of human beings. So you need to look at Genesis 1 and 2 to pull this in, really, but remember 4 points with a quote that's explained. So pause me now. This is going to take you about 5 minutes to do that, and you're going to come back to me. Okay, I just need you to check that you've got the obvious now. So can you check that you've got keywords in there? Underline or outline those. Can I check that you've got a quote in there which is explained? If you haven't got either of those things, then you are going to be struggling. So this is our final task then, and this is going to take you the rest of whatever lesson that you've got, and maybe a little bit of homework if you want to make it look beautiful, which I'm sure a number of you do. So I've got a silent task here. If you're at home, well, I'll put some tunes on, have a drink, and just be creative. So you're going to use 2 pages or A3 page, or however you want to do it, to look at the last 2 lessons, okay, that we've done. You're going to create either an information guide or a poster. I want you to talk about the portrayal of God in the creation accounts, and what the creation accounts also tell us about human beings. I've got there, it could be on 1 page, you could do it on 2. You can see an example there over my shoulder. So before, I'll put this back on in a second, but let's just recap then what we've done. We said it'd be good if we could describe Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, what they show about humanity, and we've done that really well. We said it'd be great if we could talk about the importance of the role of humans, and that's what all those grids were for, that hopefully you've extracted information from the biblical text. And even better if you can use some information to get 5 out of 5. So I'm going to leave it there. You're going to have to pause that with me on the screen, so maybe I'll just smile. And I will see you soon. So thanks for your time. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Wash your hands. God bless you. And I'll see you soon.